Welcome to Impact News. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Folks, we're going to start with a story about Amanda Gorman's poem. Okay, that mom, you remember that mom who challenged Amanda Gorman's poem and got it restricted? Her whole entire book of poems got that restricted from elementary school students in, of course, Florida, because where else can this stupid stuff happen? She's now apologizing. Oh, my goodness. Her name is Daily Salinas. She also apparently posted anti-Semitic comments on social media. She has apologized for the anti-Semitic comments, folks, but of course, she's not apologizing for getting a young black female who is the nation's poet laureate for getting her book banned from the schools when it comes to elementary school students. Okay, you remember that Amanda Gorman read the poem, The Hill We Climb. She read that poem at President Joe Biden's inauguration. It was a fabulous poem, hailed all over the world for being a fabulous poem. Okay, so now what happens is this lady, Daily Salinas, she complained about the poem, and of course, only in Florida can one person complain about something and it gets taken from everybody, okay? Why did she complain? She said, first of all, she says this, that she hasn't read the poem in its entirety. She hadn't even read it, okay? She said, but she challenged it on the ground that it contains, quote, indirect hate messages. How do you know? You haven't even read the whole thing. I mean, Florida is pathetic. Y'all can do better. I know you can do better. She said, I'm not a reader. Oh, I'm not a book person. I'm a mom involved in my children's education. First of all, I don't know about you, but I don't want somebody who's not a reader deciding what my kids can read. I'm sorry, you're not educated enough to make a decision about my child's education. Go on and make that decision about your own, but stay away from my kids. I'm not a book person. Wrong person to make any decisions about education. Any. No. And finally, she says, I'm a mom involved in my children's education. No, you're a mom involved in all the children's education, and that's a problem because you're ignorant. And those are not the people that we need deciding what our children read and what they learn and what they think about in school. Florida, you can do better. Get rid of Ron DeSantis and all his ilk because they're ruining the state of Florida. And this ignorance, I can tell you right now, there are a lot of people that are not going to hire people from Florida because you can't have people working on your staff that are this ignorant. It poisons the entire organization. Stay with me. Okay, here are your news stories on Impact News. Folks, U.S. companies stepping up donations to historically black colleges and universities. That's a good thing. Some of this due to the reckoning over racial injustice spurred by the killing of George Floyd. HBCUs have been using the language of business to argue that, of course, not only do they have a high need, but folks, they're a great investment, as we all can see from leadership around the nation, okay? HBCUs often have smaller endowments and lower levels of public funding, though it's hard to see why they have lower levels of public funding since they're funding them with the public money. So why is a higher percentage of my money going to support everything but an HBCU? I don't think so. That has to be changed. It's an important step up for corporate America since a recent report found that, guess what? Foundation support of HBCUs declined 30% between 2002 and 2019. And moving on, Vice President Kamala Harris, she has a new initiative to prevent racial bias in home valuations. That's driving the national wealth gap, which is huge. All right, the initiative requires financial institutions to ensure that their algorithms are not racially biased, their appraisal algorithms. The Vice President says we have to have increased transparency for home valuations because buying a home in predominantly Black and Latino neighborhoods, well, those homes are likely twice as likely to be undervalued as those in white communities. Vice President Harris saying there's also a need for more Black and brown home appraisers since only 5% of home appraisers are people of color. The Vice President describing home ownership as the most potent method for building intergenerational prosperity and wealth. All right, moving on. The Human Rights Campaign, folks, for the first time in its 40-year history, it has had to declare a state of emergency for the LGBTQ plus community. The campaign citing multiplying threats, many of which are resulting in violence against the LGBT community, forcing families to leave their homes, forcing families to flee their state, triggering a tidal wave of increased homophobia and transphobia. The group says it's not backing down from any attempts to stymie its community. The historic announcement coming during Pride Month and happy Pride Month to everybody out there. But guess what? While we celebrate Pride Month, do you know that in the first quarter of 2023, at least 417 anti-LGBTQ bills were introduced in state legislatures around the country? That's disgraceful. Disgraceful. All right, let's move on. Scientists say the upper atmosphere is cooling, and that brings new climate concerns. Satellite data recently showing that between 2002 and 2019, the mesosphere and lower thermosphere cooled by 3.1 degrees. This is likely caused by increasing CO2 in the air. The cooling upper air also causes it to contract. So the sky is literally falling, folks. It's no joke. One big concern is the already fragile ozone layer in the lower stratosphere. It protects us from harmful solar radiation and that causes skin cancer, and we know it's on the rise. So again, you worried about LGBTQ, worried about the color of somebody's skin or their religion, instead of being worried about what's really needed to be worried about out here, which is the fact that they were about to kill the earth for everybody. All right. Moving on, experts now believe we are in the midst of a sixth mass extinction. A mass extinction is a geological time when a high percentage of biodiversity, which is fungi, bacteria, plants, mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, invertebrates, all of them die out. So you're in there because you're a mammal, you're on your way out. Previous extinction events were caused by natural phenomenon, but of course, this one is driven by human activity, meaning the unsustainable use of land, water, and energy, and due to climate change. Currently, you should know, 40% of all land has been converted for food production, and agriculture is responsible for 90% of global deforestation and 70% of the planet's freshwater use. All that has to stop. What's happening in people's cities and states around the country? Well, guess what? In Arizona, for example, no longer allowing new developments within the Phoenix area because the groundwater is disappearing due to overuse, and of course, also due to climate change drought. A new study out, folks, says that the groundwater supporting the Phoenix area cannot meet additional development demand in the coming century. So if you have already been approved for a development, that's going to go forward. But if a developer is planning new construction, unless they can guarantee that they can have an assured water supply for 100 years using water from a source that is not groundwater, that development can't go forward. Now, one of the biggest issues around water use in Arizona is the ability of large corporate farms to use unlimited groundwater for their crops. One of those farms, as an example, is a Saudi company. Now, this Saudi company, I will tell you this, 100% of everything that they farm leaves this country. Every bit of it is taken out of this country, and they're using our groundwater to get it. Meanwhile, let's not mention the fact that we got major problems with the Saudis, but imagine we can't have any water because we're giving it to them. We can't do that. So that has to stop. All right, let's talk about chemicals. More states are suing 3M and DuPont over those toxic forever chemicals. They're in the drinking water. An estimated 64 million people across the U.S. are affected by drinking water that is contaminated with the chemicals. Maine is the latest state to sue. They say in Bangor, Maine, they can't even drink the water. An astronaut of Jamaican heritage is joining the test flights of commercial spacecraft. His name is Christopher Huey. He's the son of Jamaican immigrants. The 35-year-old trained senior engineer, he wore his Jamaican and his United States patches on his uniform during the planned test run of a mothership and a spaceship at Virgin Atlantic Spacecraft America in New Mexico. That's where they launched their spacecraft from. He was part of a four-man crew aboard the Unity 25 spacecraft. The test flight made Huey the world's 19th black astronaut after having graduated from the University of Maryland with a degree in aerospace engineering. Congrats, dude, and we will see you soon. Stay with us. We got more news. Don't go away. Time for your slay word, folks. You can level up your vocab and slay it, baby. Okay, the word this week is pother. It's spelled P-O-T-H-E-R, pother. It's a noun, which means it's a person, place, or thing. And its origin is unknown, but we do know it was first being used in the late 16th century. What does it mean? It means a commotion or a fuss. And here are your sentences. Andrew does his grocery shopping when the stores are open to avoid a pother of rush hour shoppers. Here's another. What kind of pother do you think Donald Trump will be in when he gets to prison? Oh, pother. a commotion, or a fuss. That's your slay word. Use it all week. Level up, folks. Stay with me.
I'm just sick and tired of us not spending time together lately.
I know, baby. I know. I'm sorry I ain't been spending time with you. I just been working on this big deal. It's gonna bring a lot more money to the household for it.
What you doing here, boss? Yeah, just checking to see if you still got it.
You take this work. Your partner. I don't want it back. I've seen the movies, man. I know how this goes. You see the movies, huh? Did you see Goodfellas? New Jack City?
Everything I do is for you. Like, I just need a little bit more time, man. Fine bullshit. Like I said, he's gonna call any second.
Why don't you take a look at this video? Guess what? It's starring you.
Where are you? We are out there looking for you, and with the community's help, we're going to find our missing African-American girls. Here's the story of Sherelle Walker. She was 17 years old, just 17 years old, when she was reported missing, and that happened on February 3rd of this year, and she went missing in Austin, Texas. Now, she's about 5'1" tall. She has black hair, she has brown eyes, and she weighs about 190 pounds. Her name again is Sherelle Walker, 17 years old, missing in February from Austin, Texas. Where are you, Sherelle Walker? We are out there looking for you, and if everybody in our viewing audience, just keep your eyes open. Hopefully we'll find her. And of course, you can also call 1-800-843-5678 or 1-800-THE-LOST if you have any clues as to where we can find Sherelle Walker. Back at you with the International Report. Dr. Inyang Ebong Harstrup is with us. Welcome, Eni. What's going on around the world?
Well, Carol, I was looking at a lot of stories, and we're dominated, of course, by Ukraine and what happened with the Kakhovka dam. So there's a lot of big dominant stories on that. But I picked up, because we focus on the Caribbean, I picked up a story on Haiti. Mm-hmm. Haiti is a sort of passion for me because, of course, it was the first island that broke free from slavery, etc., and was punished ever since. But they just had a recent natural disasters of hurricanes, earthquakes, flooding, and in that, 54 people were killed over the past few days as a consequence of the earthquake and devastating floods, which caused torrential rains. So it's battered the island. When you hear the numbers, you have to think about it as it's a small island. You may say, oh, but these numbers are not huge. 135 wounded, 3,302 evacuated, 820 homes destroyed, 37,801 families affected, cattle, over 2,000 cattle carried away. How do people survive? And they're saying because of the hurricanes, it is going to get worse. Mm-hmm. And, people have just lost their livelihoods. They've lost their animals, horses, cows, just drifting away. Mm-hmm. Their houses destroyed. And it's something that really troubles me because there's no government to step in to do what's necessary to protect these people.
Yeah. Because it just seems like Haiti can't get a break.
No. Because remember, I had the stories on the gangs and the fact that they don't have a stable government. They ever since the President Moïse died in July, in July 2021, mm-hmm. There's been no governance of any serious dimension in that country.
It's just unbelievable, and I don't see what other nations are doing to help Haiti. That includes the United States. What are we doing to help Haiti?
Nothing. I mean, the Canadians pull back, the Americans pull back. And even I remember when I was serving in Trinidad and Tobago as the resident representative and the UN resident coordinator, the government was just like, what do we do about Haiti? Mm-hmm. Hands in the air. They don't know what to do.
Even in the Caribbean.
And we're willing to do. Even in the Caribbean.
And it's interesting, Edie, because when Haitians immigrate to the United States, I can tell you that those are some of the highly educated, most successful immigrants in this country are Haitians. So
yes, I mean, it would be, because to leave, you have to have means. Even if you're going to go on that treacherous journey by boat or whatever, you still have to have some means to be able to pay the smugglers to get you out of the country. So it would be people that are very talented and very creative and very full of capacity that are coming.
Now, when you were in the Caribbean, and I know you were Trinidad and Tobago, but did you get a sense that there's support for Haiti, and the other Caribbean nations? I'm talking about financial support, or are they able to migrate to other Caribbean nations? How does that work?
There is, but these are small islands with their own problems. You know what I mean? They can't take that level of intrusion into their states. It just doesn't make sense. And because the poor in these islands are there, and so
take care of their own.
People are going to be dependent on the state and on the system. It's not possible.
And what about the Dominican Republic? Because that to me is the most natural.
Oh, they are just. I mean, they keep their borders tight shut. They are having none of it. They set themselves up as a tourism paradise, etc., where everybody's quote unquote white. They're not having any of it. They don't. They're very, very. They're not nice to their neighbors. And it's funny when you fly over Dominican Republic and Haiti. First of all, you look out the plane and you see a place that's been denuded of trees. And you go, where's that? And they go, oh, that's Haiti. And you look at the other side, there's absolute foliage, jungles, bush, sea, wonderful. Where's that? Dominican Republic.
Wow. And America, I'm sorry, but America should be shamed, because America has gotten great benefit from Haiti. France should be shamed. Is France still sucking money out of Haiti? Because I know at one point the Haitians had to pay all this money every year. Is that still going on?
I'm not sure that it is, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was, because the African countries still pay France. So the African countries still paying France. I wouldn't be surprised if poor Haiti still has to cough up some kind of money for the government of France. It would not surprise.
And let's face it, with no real working government now, you can basically do anything to Haiti.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Haiti is one of the most tragic cases. I do not see how Haiti pulls itself back to the brink that it's in. We've had many different UN missions, and they've all been catastrophic. They have not really made a dent or a difference. Other countries have tried, the United States, Canada, United Kingdom. It doesn't make a difference.
Well,
the infrastructure, the infrastructure of the country was so broken by what was done to it in the 18th and 19th centuries. It's never been able to catch itself.
Wow. It's just so much. Well, Edie, keep us posted. Let's just hope and pray that we can get some help for Haiti. I'm Carol Angela Davis. That's your international report. We'll let you know what's going on. Dr. Inyang Abong-Harsham. Thank you, Edie.
Thank you, Carol.
Stay with us.
Well, the Republicans, with all their meanness and lack of wisdom, have dogged immigrants and dogged migrant workers, and now they're literally begging them to work in Florida, okay? Florida Republicans met with the migrants to urge them to not leave the state after Ron DeSantis' new anti-immigration law that is sparking boycotts across the state. The Ron DeSantis law reportedly limits social services for undocumented immigrants, allocates millions more tax dollars to expand DeSantis' migrant relocation program, invalidates driver's licenses issued to undocumented people by other states. Oh, yes. And requires hospitals that get Medicaid dollars to ask for a patient's immigration status. Well, Republican State Representatives Alina Garcia and Rick Roth, again, both Republicans, said this: "We are losing employees. They are already starting to move to Georgia and other states." You couldn't figure that out? You could not think that through to the point where you thought that would happen? It's because you have no respect and no regard for immigrants and for migrant workers. And now you got to eat your words. Hold the line, folks. If you want to move, move. Get out of there. That state's a mess as long as Ron DeSantis is governor. All right, moving on. Two major insurers are now going to stop offering new homeowners policies in California, and it's mostly due, of course, to climate change. State Farm and Allstate, they say, nope, no more new homeowner insurance policies in California, saying it's just too risky in an increasingly perilous climate. It's disastrous wildfires in California, multiple hurricanes in Florida and Louisiana, sea level rise from climate change, all of them causing more frequent sunny day flooding, more damaging storm surge events in coastal areas. And at the same time, they say home replacement costs are surging. The hardest states to insure your home are in order: California, Florida, Texas, Colorado, Louisiana, and New York. You've been warned, okay? You know what to do. We have to stop climate change. Stay with me.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate through the feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove. You know who you are and who we are.
We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
Dad said, bro, we're gonna be killed tonight. Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies? Or the KGB? And the government wouldn't know it? No. They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
Back at you, closing out the show with your health in mind. Welcome, Dr. K.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So fatty liver?
Yep. You know, I see so many patients and they just regard fatty liver very casually. So that's what brought it to my attention that I need to explore this topic with people. Fatty liver is not benign. It's not something to be very casual about. Fatty liver is the #1 reason why people are needing liver transplants. Fatty liver represents the fat infiltration and ultimately scarring of the liver. And #1 risk factor, diabetes.
Wow.
#1
type 1 and 2
risk factor, obesity.
Type 1 and 2 diabetes?
Type 2 diabetes.
Type
2 diabetes.
Wow.
Weight control, something called metabolic syndrome, which is a whole syndrome of diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, hypertension. And we discussed metabolic syndrome in the fall of 2021 when we did a very deep dive into breast cancer. And believe it or not, I did a whole thing about breast cancer and the relationship to diabetes and metabolic syndrome. So it's fatty liver. It can destroy the liver. It also can lead to increasing your risk for breast cancer. It represents a whole host of health problems that come together and really cause organ damage. And you know what? You can't repair your liver. Okay, you just have to get a new liver. So, you know, who wants to be in that situation? So let's talk about it. And of course, what's the solution? Weight control, plant-based whole foods diet, avoiding inflammatory things in our diet. And those things are meat, dairy, and the middle aisle. You know, it's just incredibly important how what we eat affects us.
It really is. I mean, you don't think about it because there's so busy advertising all that junk to us and it looks so good. I mean, I look at that. Yeah. Is it the Ozempic commercial where it looks like it's a Broadway show? It's shocking.
A couple patients have spoken to me about it. The first time I ever saw it, I almost had a heart attack because I felt like telling the main actress, you have major health problems.
Yeah.
Please understand that. Right. Oh,
But America does, hey, Black America, I know Black America does. There's nothing out there that they're going to serve you that's going to really be good for you. You know that now.
But,
come on.
But suppose we from the African diaspora, where this is not our native diet, we are such incredible people that the diet that we were given, we actually perfected it and innovated it. But to understand, people, this is not our native diet. Our native diet is plant-based. And suppose you knew that when the doctor casually said, oh, you have a fatty liver, you can't feel anything. It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
it's totally asymptomatic. It's only diagnosed with things like a liver scan, having risk factors, etc. But suppose you knew that could eventually lead to the possibility of liver failure, put you at increased risk for developing breast cancer and probably other cancers. You would take a fatty liver seriously with information, because information is very powerful.
Yeah. And it's not out there. I mean, Dr. K, if it weren't for you, I don't know how we'd get this information.
It is absolutely incredible. The number one cause of liver transplantation today
is fatty. And Dr. K, are you seeing it in all ages and all ethnic groups?
All ages, all ethnic groups. But the thing that bothers me is when I see a younger patient go, oh yeah, by the way, I also have fatty liver. And you're looking at them and you're saying, but you're young. But they will be a diabetic. They will be overweight. And according to the statistics, 1 in 3 Americans has fatty liver.
Now, Dr. K, before we close, can you reverse it? If you start eating right all of a sudden, can it be reversed?
I am not sure about that, but I do know in many instances, the whole foods plant-based diet does reverse disease. So if you do nothing else but stop adding to it, you have definitely improved your health. Diabetes is a very serious disease. Pre-diabetes, diabetes, elevated hemoglobin A1C, whatever the language is, your blood sugar should remain within normal parameters, and so should your weight. Without that, you open yourself up to so many things.
And don't fall for those commercials out there that come on late at night that have you dancing and singing and thinking everything is fabulous. All you got to do is take a little pill with a big story to tell, whatever that commercial is that I see every night on the news. Don't fall for it, because it's going to kill you in the end. Thank you so much, Dr. K. We appreciate you, audience. We'll see you back next week with more stories. Dr. K, again, thank you.
It's summertime, people. Control what we eat. Let's eat a lot of that good fruit that's out there. It's good for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. And from all of us here at Impact News, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.